Hi everyone, welcome to the Digital Fifth Fintech Show. Today we have with us Reeju Datta, who's a co-founder of Cashfree. They started as a payment gateway in 2015. It's an interesting company because it started from that side, but it has become a sort of API stack player. So that's how we represented them when we created our open banking ecosystem in the country. They're very strong in both payments and collections. So welcome on board, Reeju.
Thanks, Amir, for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. Yeah, and look forward to this conversation.
Thank you, Richard. Thank you. So I think before we go anywhere, I think I wanted to ask about a bit of our history of how you created this company Cashfree and the whole journey of building it till now.
Yeah. So, so both of us, Akash and myself, didn't have any payments background when we started off, and I think we figured things along the way. So that has been the trend of how Cashfree has evolved. We started off initially trying to solve cash on delivery payments for cash on delivery because back in 2015, 70-80% of all orders were paid via cash, and we were regular COD players. So doing that, we figured why not, since payment gateways of that time were not able to address this due to whatever reasons. So we figured let's build a payment solution for COD. Hence the name is Cashfree. Yeah, and when we started targeting night delivery restaurants in Bangalore, initially with a product wherein someone could pay the delivery boy using digital means. From there, the merchants we were talking to, they started asking us, why don't you also process payments on our online websites? From that's where the payment gateway. That's how we evolved into a payment gateway. And while doing that, we figured, there were a lot of other problems in the payments and banking ecosystem. We figured that why don't, how it was very difficult to use business banking services. For us, in our case, we had to disburse funds, right? And we found many businesses who had this use case of disbursing a large volume of funds to bank accounts or wallets at that point of time. And then they were looking for a solution, right? So a few of the earlier use cases were delivery companies of delivery boys, logistics companies who wanted to pay the delivery boys, and they were processing the wages in a week. So we thought, why don't we give them this automated solution wherein the delivery boy has an app on which they can just click a button and withdraw their salaries every day or multiple times a day. So that's how, and this could only be done via a means of API banking. Using APIs to process transactions, and that's how the product evolved. And then we found a very large niche need for that in the market. So from just payment gateway that collects money, we became a full stack payment company that both collects and disburses monies. And now the journey has been, moving on from a payments API player into evolving into other banking functions, a lot of which involve letting fintech industries or fintech companies connect with banks via APIs. So I think that's how the journey seems to be progressing as of now.
Interesting. And you're saying payment, collections, and beyond, right? Basically, that would mean that you are going to take a head-on competition to all the other guys, including maybe Setu and others. Is that where you're?
So right now we are a core payment processing company. We do collections and disbursals, and disbursals is probably where I think we have kind of integrated with a lot of financial institutions and learned how to do that and figured how to work with banking institutions. What we see is the market is opening up in terms of there being a lot of other similar opportunities, but we want to keep payments as a core offering and value proposition, and others are opportunities that are exciting to us and other companies as well.
Okay. So maybe a very specific question, since I'm also setting up an accelerator. So what was your, YC has been talked about all over. So how was that journey of building up, and how was that useful in the whole journey as such?
Yeah. So Y Combinator happened around 2 years into our journey in 2017. And it was a bit of an accident for us because we were not, planning to really explicitly apply there. We didn't have much knowledge, but it so happened that we logged into the website of YC one day and found that the deadline had passed by around six to 7 weeks. But we went ahead and we still kind of filled up the application. I think they had that option at that time, and very quickly we got a call, a response on the email, and we were invited to the United States, and it was quite surprising for us as well. So we got the visas done in about 7-8 days, as quickly as we could, and actually landed there after the batch had started, and luckily we got through, after a very quick 10-minute interview. So that it was like not by very like design, and incidentally we were really struggling to raise funds at that point of time, because we were calling ourselves a payment gateway, and investors were a bit hesitant about funding a core payment gateway at that point of time, because the rationale again always was that why is there a need for another payments company, and we refused to pitch ourselves as anything else rather than a payment gateway. So that was something we were stubborn about. So YC happened to be the seed investor. I think they somehow were impressed by maybe two things. One, that we had this differentiated offering around bulk dispersals that we were pitching, and secondly, our numbers at that point of time were decent with respect to maybe what they had seen in the past. I think they have a fair experience of funding payment companies. So I think that's how they got in, and we got in, and I think since it was good in terms of being able to meet a wide variety of startup founders who we realized are probably the best, or really gold standard in terms of the startup ecosystem, and even the mentors, I think the advice we got from them, that was also pretty good, and most importantly, I think it also helped in hiring later on, because we felt like the kind of conversations we try to have during hiring try to be in a way similar or along the same lines as what we had with during our Y Combinator interview or the interactions after that. So that those would be some of the benefits of Y Combinator, apart from the fact they were our first investors.
Okay. Okay. And then onwards, you've raised a decent amount of fund as well. I saw that. I think you raised some 5 million last year, right?
Yes. So Series A was 5.5 million. Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. So coming back, so what's your opinion on payment business? It's changing every day, right? Either stats or now COVID and all of that is very different. So what's your view on payment business? And of course, now that we have UPI 2.0 and then again recurring payments. So what's the opinion on overall piece?
Yeah, I think I mean it's a very it's fairly early. I would say, I wouldn't say very early, but I think there is a lot of scope for penetration, and I think it's going to be one of the most high growth segments that we see in the startup ecosystem. Payments in particular, and financial services or fintech in general. Within payments, I think there is a scope for innovation, both in the interaction between merchants and customer, uh, wherein you would have things like recurring payments, or let's say payment interfaces like QR codes, contactless payments, right? And even between payment companies and the financial institutions. So there would be things like multiple payment modes or aggregations, payment infrastructure, for example, payment switches, right? So there are a lot of other different kinds of, I guess, parts of the value chain where I think we can see new companies coming up, and innovation happening. With specific to UPI 2.0, again, I think, I mean, there's kind of these recurring payments, which seems to be kind of very much in demand in the market. And I think distribution, building the product and then distributing it across in various forms, because there is some businesses need a developer friendly API, whereas there are many other businesses who are not really up to the mark and now really have to adopt digital payments very quickly, and they can't really write code. So how do you kind of bring them onto the digital platform without giving them APIs, which they are not yet equipped to handle, right? So because with this changing scenario of COVID, there is a huge rush to move into digital payments that we are seeing, and I don't think businesses will be able to evolve fast enough to be that tech savvy. So now the payment companies have to become make the product less tech savvy and take it to everyone. So I think that's what we are seeing right now.
Okay. Okay. So in terms of this API-based models are growing, right? There's a lot of talk about open banking, stuff like that. So what kind of API-focused business model can be created as per you? What are the various models which may exist? Just because APIs are coming very differently. Now we can't think of front end. It's all API-based business. So what do you think about that?
So going forward, I think all the most of the businesses or platforms at some level would be built on APIs or be consuming APIs. So and even internally, I think APIs are being consumed by the companies when they build themselves. So yeah, so an API first approach as a platform or as a business offering seems to be the way. I think for starters, I mean, we have tried to capture the payments, the APIs around payments, wherein we aggregate a lot of payment modes and bring them to a business in a single easy to consume API, or be it around disbursals where we allow businesses to send money to any bank account. I think so that has been the first part, where payments I think was the opportunity, because payments is like, I think, the core of a lot of the other payments and banking functions that are there. Uh, Beyond payments, I think there will be, I mean, there we can see things coming up around, bill payments, which is not really a payment system, but more like a data, data repository of bills. Then we have the account aggregation, which is a data repository of, your account information, and so on and so forth, right? There is tax information. So a lot of plays around data, I think that is there, and how you kind of mix and match this and offer this. You could be an API provider for on which other businesses could build on, and like provide data, provide card issuing, provide core payments, or you could be someone that consumes these APIs and then let's say becomes a neobank and offers this to small and medium-sized businesses as an offering. So yeah, so I think data and payments seem to be the key building blocks. Yeah, so I think and APIs I think will be the building blocks for any kind of services, not just payments or fintech.
I've seen many of these API companies finally thinking of moving to B2C,
Uh-huh.
and instead of losing focus, they end up becoming either trying to become a neobank or trying to acquire customer on their. Any views on that? Any thoughts on that side?
Yeah, so I think every company would have a core strength of their own. We would like to stick to that. I mean, that's right. Like our approach. Some companies are very good at building, acquiring customers, or building a nice app and a well-designed app. Some companies are good with a lot of banking integrations, which are reliable and scalable and work without fail. Some businesses are good at acquiring businesses or making business interfaces. So I think accordingly, people have to pick their opportunities. So that is one way to do it. Other way is obviously to do everything. To be a consumer app, be a integrator with businesses and everything. I mean, if someone is capable enough, they're free to do that,
A few
right?
guys are still attempting it, I guess, and I think at scale it may work still, right? If you have a lot of money as well. Anything.
Yeah, that could be an approach, right? I mean, so there, like you could be a generalist. Like the challenge there comes, how do you compete with someone who is very specialized in that particular field, right? Can you beat, like, do better than them? If you can do better than them, and take market share away still, I mean, then yeah, I think that's a good job, I think, I would say.
So I think from a start perspective, in 5-6 years, you've done a fabulous job. But on the journey, what challenges you faced? कब बहुत लगा कि परेशान हो गए? What are the challenges? I mean, real issues, real problems. Because on the face of it, everybody wants to say everything is good, but it has
Yeah.
been a tough journey, I'm sure. So, what are the challenges?
Yeah, I think for us, initially, getting, I would say, initial traction was a challenge, because we always kept hearing, like, not from the merchants per se, but the ecosystem, as in, why are you, building a payments company at this point of time, right? And it was a bit hard for us to always answer that. Like even now, we sometimes get asked, and usually we try to just focus on the work and acquire customers and grow our numbers. So that was one. I think on the work side, I think integrating with financial systems, trying to get used to their culture and their pace, I think that's an adjustment I think we've had to make. We might expect some kind of level of I would say technical proficiency, or let's say SLAs from banks, which sometimes are not there. So that has, I think, been a challenge at that point, because you tend to be as slow as the bank on with which you're working. So that was, I think, another challenge. Yeah, and after that, I think the regular challenges of making sure the systems are reliable. They work 24/7 with as much reliability as possible, uh, uh, and hiring the right people, getting the right because it's very important to have a right team. I mean, without the right team, it's very difficult to kind of make headway after initial few customers, right? So I think, yeah, those are the few challenges around hiring, working with financial institutions, and in general, being able to believe that that payments was a venture worth undertaking. Yeah.
Okay. And for any young entrepreneur about to start his journey, what will be your recommendation?
So for us, I think we've focused a lot on staying profitable and maintaining positive unit economics. So that's something I think that has kept us and helped us in good stead, and taken a lot of pressure away and helped us be independent in our thinking. So yeah, I think we've always tried to look at the unit economics, not gone into burn mode, which probably might be a slow growth in a way, but I think that just takes a lot of pressure. So if possible, I think maintain profitability is something I would say at all times.
Thanks, Riju. Thanks, Riju. I think it was very short session, but I think fantastic. We got whatever we were looking at.
Yeah,
Thank
yeah,
you. Thank you,
yeah.
Riju, for that. Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah.
Thank
Okay.
you.